Hi, everyone. Welcome again to Enjoy English School. I'm Bruce.
Hello, I am Bernice.
Well, today we have an article called Good Eats. And let me ask you a question. Do you like to eat?
Everybody will say, yes, of course.
Well, you don't have to ask me. Just look at my stomach.
Okay,
our lesson today is about eating, but not the kind of eating we usually think about, breakfast, lunch, or dinner. This is called Blow Some Bubbles with Gum.
Okay, so I love chewing gums. So whenever I chew gum, I can keep my breath fresh.
That's right. Okay, we're going to talk mostly today about the history of bubble gum, the beginning of bubble gum. Where does it come from? Who thought of it? Or who had some accident or happy event, and he realized, we could make a popular gum out of this that's safe and people could chew. We don't have any example of bubble gum or chewing gum from ancient Rome or ancient China.
No, okay.
Okay, this is a one-day lesson, and I already said this is in our Good Eats category for this month.
Yeah.
We introduce a new kind of food or some aspect of a food, like its history, where it came from, or the types and so on. So let's get busy with our first paragraph.
All right.
And at the end of the program, we will review some useful and important vocabulary for you. Before the gum that we know today was created, most chewing gum was made with chicle from sapodilla trees of Central America. So this tells us that something that we call gum, now that would actually be a kind of sap, S-A-P, 树枝. It comes naturally from a tree. It almost makes us think of, hey, this tree has blood, except that sap is very, very thick. And because of that, there's a tree called the sapodilla tree in Central America, between North America and South America, where those trees have a sap which the people of that area long ago seemed to like to chew.
So this sentence, we can know that this is the first chewing gum. Okay, so the first chewing gum is created from a kind of tree, okay, in Central America. Wow, that's amazing. I've never known about that.
I never guessed that either. The ancient Mayans chewed chicle to fight hunger.
Oh.
So the Maya you have probably heard about, rather mysterious people. They developed a civilization including pyramids. Now, we all know pyramids from Egypt. They are four-sided, and they come to a peak at the top. Some of them are really, really big. But in Central America, they also made pyramids, but they did not come to a peak. The top was flat, so, and they're not quite sure what happened up there. Some people said it became a kind of 天文台, an observatory. Others said, no, this is where the king gave speeches from a very high place down to the citizens. They simply don't know yet. But the Mayans had quite a culture. If you're interested in early peoples, different groups of people around the world, check out the Mayans. Very interesting.
Okay.
Anyway, they chewed chicle, which also came from this sapodilla trees, to fight hunger. And this was done, not this tree, but other peoples around the world. Food was not always available when you needed it or wanted it. And so they found things to chew, that is to put something in your mouth and your teeth bite down on it again and again and again and again, but you don't swallow it. And they found that people who were very, very hungry, as long as they were chewing, they could better control how they felt and maybe even keep from dying until they could find food.
Okay, so next time when I feel hungry, maybe I can buy some chicle to chew. Okay, it can help me.
Okay, in the late 1800s, now when we say late, that would mean maybe from 1880 to 1889 or so. It's not an exact period of time. The opposite is the early 1800s, and that would be from about 1800 to 1820 or so. Or so means about.
Mm-hmm.
It became the primary ingredient in chewing gum. It refers back to the chicle that comes from that tree.
Mm-hmm.
And primary means the first or the most important ingredient. Well, many foods contain two or more kinds of foods, like a salad. We rarely sit down and just eat a bowl of tomatoes. We have several vegetables mixed in together. Each one is an ingredient of that salad.
Yeah, so the primary, which means the main ingredient.
In chewing gum throughout the U.S., of course, throughout the United States. The first bubble gum, however, was not invented until the early 1900s. So be careful here. Chewing gum is not necessarily bubble gum, but bubble gum is a kind of chewing gum.
Yeah.
And the way to remember this is it's easy. I just mentioned if you chew something, you put it in your mouth and you bite down on it and then bite down on it again and again and again. You are chewing something.
Yeah.
But bubble gum is the kind of chewing gum. You do the same thing, but then you can blow out
it. Yeah.
Exactly. Blow out like a little balloon of the gum.
Yeah, so just like what Bruce said, gum, we have a lot of different kinds of gums, but bubble gum is one of the kind.
That's right. Yeah. Okay, and that happened, by the way, in the early 1900s. Here's the early, so 1900 to 1920 or so.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's take a break now before we continue with our 3-paragraph article for today.
All right.
All right, welcome back. Around 1906, I told you 1900 to 1920 would be the early 1900s. So in 1906, a confectioner named Frank Fleer wanted to develop a gum strong and stretchy enough to be blown into bubbles. Well, go back to confectioner. This is a person who likes to invent or make desserts and sweet things. His name, Mr. Fleer, I've never seen that surname before. Frank is a fairly common man's name, Frank Fleer. He wanted to develop a gum. This tells us that there was no such thing then, but he wanted to develop it. He wanted to make it or create it. And not just another flavor of a gum, but a type of gum that was strong and stretchy. Stretchy means you can pull something and it will just get longer and longer and longer.
Kind of flexible one.
Very good. Yeah. Flexible. F-L-E-X-I-B-L-E. F-L-E-X-I-B-L-E. Flexible. Now, the reason he wanted this is he realized if you could have a gum that was flexible and stretchy and so on, you could use it to blow bubbles. That was his idea. And apparently he did it because we do have bubble gum today.
Right. So when we use enough, this word, and when we have adjectives, always remember we put adjectives in front of enough. For example, we can say, Jack is old enough to do the job. We don't say Jack is enough old. We say old enough.
Good point. Yeah. And that's quite unusual in English to have the adjective behind the noun. All right, let's continue. He developed this gum. And he called it blibber blubber. That's so hard to say.
Yeah, right.
Give me some blubber. Although it could be blown into bubbles, it was too sticky to package.
Wow.
Well, so on the one hand, he was successful. He found a way to make chicle into a chewing gum, but how would he sell it? If you put it into a little package, apparently, it was too sticky. Sticky means that when one thing touches another, it's hard to take it away. It's hard to remove it. And if you put food into a little package, you open the package, but you can't get the food out.
No, my God.
No, that's not going to work.
Yeah, right. So when we use too, which means it was so sticky that it is hard to package.
Exactly. And here package is used as a verb.
Yeah,
it's
right.
usually used as a noun. Okay, continuing. Later, after this time when he was developing the gum, he was then an employee of Fleer's company. Well, the he here is not Mr. Fleer.
One of his employees.
Exactly,
right?
Whose name is Walter Demier. Walter is a fairly common men's name, and he worked for Mr. Fleer. Now, like Fleer, who tried to find a good gum that would become a bubble gum, not just a chewing gum, Walter also decided, yeah, that's a good idea. So he continued experimenting with blibber blubber. To experiment with something is to try to change it in some way or try to create it in the first place. So it's useful.
Yeah, because it was too sticky. So maybe Walter, he had different idea about how to make it more convenient for the consumers.
And in 1928, he discovered by accident. This means he did not plan to do this, but it just happened. And a lot of things in the world were discovered by accident. The perfect recipe that was strong enough for bubbles, but not too sticky for packaging. Because this is not recite. This is recipe. Recipe is the instructions and the ingredients, what you need to make something and how to put it together.
Is a cookbook?
Cookbook is full of recipes. There's a recipe for everything that you want to make.
Okay.
And if you're going to make something, make mine cookies, please. So the recipe that he found, but he didn't plan exactly to make it, but eventually he found it. It was strong enough for bubbles. That's good. And he could put it into a package, but you could take it out of the package easily.
Yeah, right.
Double number one.
Okay, so finally this gentleman succeeded.
There you go. Exactly. He succeeded. Okay, and we succeeded through the second paragraph, so we deserve a break.
Yes, that's true.
All right, our final paragraph for today. The original gum that Demier created was a dull gray color.
I don't like this kind of color. I like bright color.
Gray
like
is
pink, red, yellow.
Yellow, right. Gray is like a cloudy day with rain. The clouds are gray. And for many people, that's not very attractive. And he felt that would not be a good product. People might like blowing bubbles, but the bubbles would be gray. Might be better to try a different color. So, to make the gum look more appealing or attractive, he made it pink with some food dye he found in his lab at the time. Pink is a nice bright color. And dye, D-Y-E, 跟 D-I-E 同音字.
Yeah.
D-Y-E.
The same pronunciation, right?
Exactly. That's right. So, dye can be used as a noun or a verb. Here it's used as a noun. So it's a kind of material that not only has color, but can color other things that it is mixed with.
So which means it can look more eye-catching.
The
color is eye-catching.
Attractive, appealing, eye-catching. Now that's usually with the hyphen, 短线.
Yes.
E-Y-E, 短线 hyphen. C-A-T-C-H, catch, I-N-G for the adjective. Very good, eye-catching. Now, he found this dye in his lab. This is probably the part where we can understand he found it by accident.
Yeah, right.
He didn't make the gray gum and then thought, well, now I need something that's pink to make it pink-colored. He noticed in his lab, oh, there's a dye, and it's a nice, bright, eye-catching color.
Yeah.
So let me try that.
Mm-hmm.
The product was renamed Double Bubble. Certainly a lot better than Blibber Blubber.
Yeah, right. Much better.
It's, at least in English, Double Bubble rhymes. The two sounds at the end have the same sound. Ubble, ubble, double bubble. We like that in English. And became very popular. As we can see today, half the population is chewing gum at any given time.
Yes, that's true.
All right, and we finish up with this sentence. Its pink color also set the industry standard for bubblegum products across the world. If you set a standard, whether it's an educational standard or an industrial standard and so on, this is the model, and other people will copy it.
Just like a person to set an example.
Oh,
for somebody,
very good.
Right?
Very, very good. Right. We have so many people here in our company who set an example for teaching
Peter?
and writing and oh yeah,
Bruce. No,
Peter
Bruce.
too, huh? Hi, Peter. Hope I have a job next week. All right, we have now finished our article, and we'll take a short break and then go over, as we do with every lesson, important, interesting, useful, and maybe even eye-catching vocabulary.
Okay.
Okay, here we go with our review of vocabulary. Number 1, chew. Okay, I mentioned earlier, if you chew something, it's in your mouth and your teeth go up and down on it. That's one way to describe chewing. But we have another word. We don't use this that often. It's munch. M-U-N-C-H. M-U-N-C-H. The difference is chew will stay in your mouth. Munch, it might stay in your mouth, or you might finally swallow it. A little bit different.
But we can't swallow chewing gums. No.
You shouldn't. Yuck. Okay, number 2. This is easy to understand. Hunger. Hunger is the feeling that you need to eat something. Very simple.
I need a hamburger to satisfy my hunger. Will you treat me?
Number 3 is sticky.
Sticky.
It's an adjective. The verb is stick, and that means to adhere. I'll spell that for you. A-D-H-E-R-E. A-D-H-E-R-E. And that means to cling to something. C-L-I-G. You put A on top of B, and they won't easily separate because they are sticky. Number 4, experiment. Now, here we have it as a verb. It's also a noun. It's often a noun. And it means to try or try out. Number 5, by accident.
We can also use by chance.
Yes, we can.
C-H-A-N-C-E.
Excellent. By chance, by accident. It means not on purpose. You did not mean to do it, but it did happen that way.
I just saw John kissing Mary by accident, which means I didn't mean to do that.
Oh, I thought you meant he kissed her by accident. How did that happen?
Okay.
Number 6, appealing is attractive. Once again, like Bernice.
Oh, thank you.
Number 7, lab. This is a noun, and it is short for a much longer word. L-A-B-O-R-A-T-O-R-Y.
Yes, bingo.
L-A-B-O-R-A-T-O-R-Y. Laboratory, or laboratory for short. And it's a place to experiment. Number 8, set a standard. We just discussed this at the end of our reading part. And that is to make something official or acceptable to others, or to be the model for others.
Yes, set an example.
Thank you. Set an example for others. Okay, we hope we've set an example for other people who do radio programs.
Yeah, right.
And we'll be back again later this month. Until then,
Bye.